Hey there, Nintendo fans. Darth Karnivorus here, and welcome back to another epic Nintendo video. And guys, if you watched my last few videos, the last video I done was on my modded Game Boy Advance SP. Yep, so this thing is completely modded. If you want to check that out, see all the different features I've got on here as well, check out the last video I done. But the one before that was my Actually, I think it was my 3DS collection. But the one I done before that one, probably, or before that one, I can't really remember, was my handheld collection. So I do have quite a good few handheld consoles, PSP, PS Vita, Game Boy Advance, Game Boy Advance SP, Game Boy Color, the list goes on. I've got quite a few, and I've still got more to collect in the future. Um, this thing, I do love this thing, but the only thing I don't like about it is, and there's obviously going to be pros and cons to things, I didn't even like this back in the day. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love flip phones. Like, flip phones are like the coolest, one of the coolest tech ever. And the phone that I'm actually using to record this video and other videos right now is my Samsung Galaxy Z Flip. I do have the Z Flip 3. I know they have the 4 out, the 5 will probably be out this year at some point, but I've got the 3 and I love it. There's no more satisfying thing than hanging it up like this. That's just so cool. It really is. But the thing is, I don't like about this one is, obviously I love the fact that it flips. It's got this one's got an IPS screen. And the only thing I don't like about it is the buttons are very, very shallow. And they're supposed to be kind of flush with the case, so that when you close the screen, the buttons aren't going to rub against the screen. It makes total sense, but playing some games it can be very, very, crampy and cumbersome, and it's. But anyway, so this I'm not talking about this one today. The one I'm talking about right now is this bad boy right here. Okay, so yeah, you're probably thinking, what the hell's so special about this one? Now this is the one that I had back in the day, not this exact model. I'll tell you a long story short, guys. My mum had phoned me back up, and this is probably 2001. I'm pretty sure. She phoned the house. I was in the house that day, and she phoned. She was out shopping with my dad. She phoned me, and back then it was obviously the house phone because yes, you could get mobile phones back then, but they weren't as common as they are today. So not everybody had one. You had obviously it's I don't know. I can't remember about things, but for mobile phones back then and contracts and things like that, I never actually had one. I did own a mobile phone, but it's one of those ones where you kind of, you use it, you don't, you take it with you, you don't, that sort of thing. Anyway, so long story short, my mum phoned. She said she wanted to buy me something. She hadn't, bought me something and anything in a long time, and she said, "I want to get you something to do with gaming because you love gaming." I thought, right, okay, well, what have you seen? And she's like, I've seen one of those advanced Game Boys. I always remember her saying that. I was thinking, advanced Game Boy, not Game Boy Advance. Oh, GBA, holy, is that what you're talking about? And she went, is that the one that's like, you know, it looks like a long Game Boy or a wide Game Boy or something? I says, that's the one. Um, and she says, right, okay, we're going to get you one of those. You can pick two games. And I was thinking, holy shit, this is the best day ever, So my mum had told me about the colours, and I went with the glacier one, which is this one right here, because I love the fact. Sorry, guys, started to lose my voice there. I love the fact that it's obviously see through as well. You can see all the. It's very, very cloudy looking though, which I do love. It's like ice, ice. Yes, you can get like see through ice, but obviously it can be. It would distort whatever you're kind of looking at if there's something inside of it, that sort of thing. And I do love the way this thing looks. So I remember I asked my mum to get me this colour and get me Super Mario Advance. That's a given, and Jurassic Park 3, the DNA Factor. Now, back then I was right into Jurassic Park, so I wanted to play the latest Jurassic Park game because one of my favourite Jurassic Park games of all time is the Super Nintendo game and the Game Boy game as well, and even the what do you call it? The Mega Drive version as well is always really good. But possibly my favourite one is the Lost World Jurassic Park on PlayStation. I do love that game. I know a lot of people don't like it. I do. I love it. So each to their own. But when I got this thing, I waited about 3 hours for my mum to go home because they went for lunch, they got shopping, whatever else. I waited ages, and that's that way. Like, 3 hours felt like 6 hours. That way you can't get your mind off it. You just want to, open the box, try it out, try out your new toy. So obviously when my mum and that eventually got home, helped them with the shopping, helped putting the shopping away. Then obviously I got to the Game Boy, went straight upstairs, unboxed it. Obviously back then I would have done an unboxing if YouTube and I had a camera, or unboxings was a thing back then. But anyway, so unboxed the games, put the batteries in, and I sat in my bedroom. My bed was right up against the window as well, so I could just kind of sit with my legs crossed with the pillows behind me. And it was a very, very dull day. I mean, it was probably springtime, I'm pretty sure. But it was very, very dull, even though the sun was behind the clouds. That way, if you looked at the sky, it was obviously very, very glary, kind of blind you. But I could still see the screen. It wasn't obviously 100% perfect, but you could still see the screen. And that way, I was used to the Game Boy, the original Game Boy, and the Game Boy Pocket, and the Game Boy Color. I was used to obviously the thing not having a backlight and sitting under lamps, and well, if you've got like a huge, obviously the ceiling light. My family have always called it the big light. No matter what room it is, you sit under there with a big light on. Or if you obviously get the accessories and get the worm light or the magnifying glass that attaches to it. 'Cause I remember it attaches into these little bits here, and it takes batteries, and obviously you can light up the screen as well. So that was always pretty good. So obviously my first impressions of it was, this is great, but obviously it'd be good if it was backlit, like the Sega Game Gear or the Atari Lynx. But anyway, so my friend, he's like a wizard, like modding things. I think that way, if you've got any problems that you can't fix yourself, if I told him anything, he would just say, right, okay, bring it in, let me see it, because I work with him as well. Bring it in, let me see it. He's like, I'll let you know how he got on with it, and a lot of the things that he's fixed this belong to me, which is excellent. So I did ask him, could I? Well, he actually, the funny thing is though, if you watch that video with my um, handhelds in it as well, if you watch that video, you'll notice that I did have a Game Boy Advance. It was a Super Famicom version. Well, that was actually him that done that. He sold it to me, so well, tell like he swapped it. We traded. We traded. I traded my 2DS XL, and obviously he gave me that one as well. So I was more than happy to do that, because I do have a 3DS XL, which is actually right here. I have been playing it. Let's put that on the side there. Now the thing is though, I asked him obviously if he'd be able to swap the shells in. I bought a new shell. He says no problem at all. Took him about half an hour to do it, and then he dropped it back off at work for me, which was great. And that's, I mean, don't get me wrong, guys. I could have like pretty much any configuration I wanted. I could have like any color of button I wanted, any color of shell I wanted. But I wanted to go back in time to when I had one exactly like this. Obviously, when you see the box of a Game Boy Advance SP, oh sorry, not SP, Game Boy Advance, you see obviously the colour, it's like lit up and it says Game Boy Advance, it looks amazing. Then obviously you're kind of disappointed because the screen doesn't light up. This is the way the screen looks. This one looks like it doesn't light up, but it does, because this has got the version 2 IPS screen on here. So yeah, he's done that for me, no problem at all. I actually told him just keep the shell because I'm not going to use it. So he's going to use that he's going to get, I think he says he's got a Game Boy motherboard and some buttons and stuff like that and membranes. He's just going to slap it all together and he's got a shell for it. So he doesn't have to go out and buy another shell. So anyway, yeah, this is exactly what I wanted, and I actually knew how much I wanted one of these ones again until I saw like recent pictures and some videos on YouTube, people showing off like their old Game Boy Advance and things like that, and I thought, my God, I used to have that, and that just looked so damn cool. I love the color, I love the fact that it's not 100% transparent, but it still is transparent. You can see all the guts and whatever else, and see the speaker and the motherboard and the buttons and membranes, and it just looks so damn cool. So anyway, let's power this bad boy on. And yeah, as you can see, it's got an IPS screen. Yep, obviously I wasn't lying about that. And yeah, I'm so happy to have this one. Now, the thing is though, like when you're playing the Game Boy Advances and SPs and whatever else, you need to take into factor that back then the batteries would have lasted like a decent amount of time. But nowadays, because of the the IPS screen, and if you've got a flash card like me, the flash card will drain a lot of battery. So you can probably get. I've not actually tested this yet with obviously the batteries. I've got these fully charged Energizer batteries. The thing is though, I've had these batteries. I've got about 8 Energizer AA batteries. I've had them for about maybe, I don't know, probably about 4.5 years. So I was using them for my Xbox Series S controller, my Xbox One controller, obviously other controllers that take batteries. I was using it for them, so obviously they've been charged a lot of times. So I don't know if the cycles are eventually starting to go down, um, but the batteries that I have right here, I fully charged them. But I was playing Golden Sun before I put this video on. I was playing Golden Sun for about maybe half an hour, and then all of a sudden the green LED started flashing red. So I don't know if that's anything sinister, or the batteries may just not be holding a charge anymore, so I need to get new ones because I've got, a good nearly 5 years use out of them, so I can't really grumble, and they weren't expensive either, but they do last a long time when they're brand new. So the thing is though, I get paid right now, actually, come to think of it, I'm not checking my bank, but I do get paid right now, so I'll probably buy another couple just to throw these ones away and, get newer ones. But yeah, as you can see, I've got a flash card in this one as well, the Easy Flash 4, so I can easily take this out and put it in my SP if I wanted, if I want to chop and change consoles or whatever. And I've got almost every Game Boy Advance game on here. But I do love this thing, guys, I really do. I mean, the thing is, though, like, obviously you can see the buttons are more raised on this one as well, and everything just feels so much better than, obviously, that one. The thing is, though, obviously, that they're third-party buttons and D-pads as well, so that may take into factor. That's maybe where most of the comfort's been taken away, These are third-party as well. This is a third-party shell, but it just feels amazing, it really does. Plus, I have this plastic TPU case as well, just to protect it, and also to protect the sticker back here, because your fingers kind of touch there and wouldn't want all the oil taken off of that. So what I'll do is I'll load up where are we? So obviously this is the first game that I ever played on this thing, and the thing is though, guys, when I first played this, I was so disappointed, and I'm going to show you why. Obviously the disappointment didn't last very long, it lasted maybe a couple of seconds. It was a couple of seconds of disappointment, but this part right here, so when you're playing this on a non-backlit screen or a non-frontlit screen, you get this is obviously the aspect ratio of an original Game Boy, so it's kind of showing you that the evolution of the Game Boy, or this is obviously the shape of a Game Boy Color. But it was just that part where you see that bit is dark, so seeing you're playing it and the screen isn't lit up, it's not as easy to see. And then I was disappointed, thinking, oh, don't tell me the game's going to be that small. That's just so stupid. Then obviously it opened up, and you see obviously a 16:9. It looks absolutely beautiful, and I thought, oh, that's so cool. That's actually a really nice touch that Nintendo did. And it's the one thing I would love to do is go back to my younger self. Maybe go back in time and just when I was playing this on my original Game Boy Advance, and just say, listen here, put that down, try this, and obviously that way I would have probably, I'd have probably jizzed my pants right there, like as disgusting and graphic as that sounds. Yeah, I probably would have. Because back then I still love gaming just as much. I don't get the opportunity to play games as much as I'd like, unless I maybe take something with me, because I've got my phone on me, but I've usually got some sort of device with me anyway, and I'm sure you guys are probably the same. And I just went in the wrong way because the fucking mushrooms over that way, if I remember right. Yeah, so I've always got something with me, like Nintendo Switch, Steam Deck, DS, 3DS, PS Vita, PSP, GBA, whatever. I've always got something. I've always got something with me to keep me entertained. So I'm not the sort of person that it's glued to my phone constantly. I just don't like that. I mean, yes, I do use my phone quite a lot, like a lot of people do, but I'm not like that sort of way where I'm just always stuck to it, unless I'm actually oh, you son of a bitch. Unless obviously I'm using it for something, specifically. I'm never really stuck to my phone. It's obviously people in my job, they see me playing a Game Boy Advance or they see me play something that I've got handheld, and they probably think it's weird, but I don't. I love that. I think it's weird that people just spend all day on their phone. Fair enough, that's just what people do. I'm not going to, I'm not going to judge anybody for, being on their phone or doing what they want to do, because if it keeps them happy, then that's all that matters, because I would rather be keeping myself happy rather than keeping someone else happy. But yeah, guys, so that was my long story short of how I got my Game Boy Advance back in the day, and obviously I wish back then that it was, a backlit screen or a frontlit screen or whatever. Obviously, when the SP came out a couple of years later, it was frontlit unless you got the AGS 101, which is backlit and was a lot brighter. But the IPS screens are like 10 times brighter than the AGS 101. And obviously, a lot of people wanted, you know, the, the obviously the backlit, the frontlit screen like this and this, because this is a better form factor, especially for people with large hands. It's just so much easier because it's like pretty much holding a controller, whereas in that one is like holding the phone, if that makes sense, because it's all flat, and obviously the ergonomics of this is a lot better than this, because it kind of ridges at this part here, it raises and then goes smaller, so you can hold on to this thing. But I do love this kind of thing, guys, and I do want to thank my friend for actually doing this one for me, because obviously that's just, one of the coolest things ever. But I love it. I really do. I'm so happy with this thing. I really am. I mean, like I said, guys, I could have any configuration I want, any color I want, any shell I wanted, and I just went with the sort of basic, and I love it. I really do. The only thing I would love to get is a box. Just I like to keep the boxes that I've got for everything that I've got, and it would just be so nice to have the box for this. But you know what? I'd have to probably buy the box with the unbacklit, unmodded one, which is fine by me. So I might actually do that. I don't know. Anyway, guys, that's it for the end of this video. I do hope you enjoyed it. So if you did, smash the like button, throw me a double horns. Also, subscribe to my channel for more epic Nintendo stuff like this. And sayonara.